Hello class, and welcome to Notes 5.2, Simplifying Expressions. Our objective today is to simplify expressions by using properties and to use correct vocabulary. It is important when you're referring to parts of an expression that you're using the correct vocabulary so that you understand what each part is. So let's go ahead and start first going over that vocabulary. And some of this should be familiar to you. Each term is a part of the expression. So for example, negative 3x would be a term. 7 would be a term. YZ would be a term. What you're looking for, each term is separated by an addition sign. And sometimes you won't see that addition sign right away. It'll look like a subtraction sign, but when you skip change, it will become an addition sign. And I will show you that. Coefficient is a number connected to a variable in a term. So for example, the coefficient would be the 5 in 5x. So it must be touching a variable. Like terms are terms with the same variable raised to the same power. So for example, 4w squared and negative 2w squared would be like terms because they both have a w to the second power. And constant term is a number without a variable put at the end. For example, 9 or negative 3. Both of those are constant terms. Okay, teacher example 1. Identify the terms, coefficients, like terms, and constant terms of the expression 8 minus 2x plus 6x plus 9. Now for the terms, again, we're looking for numbers separated by an addition sign. First, we would want to skip change and turn this from 8 plus negative 2x. And the reason is, anytime there's a subtraction sign, it needs to stay with the number it's in front of. So it's essentially the same thing as a negative sign. Remember, subtractions and negatives are the same. So I could also read this as 8 plus negative 2x plus 6x plus 9. So my terms would be 8, negative 2x, 6x, and 9. My coefficients, remember that's whatever's in front of the variable in the term. So obviously 8 doesn't have a variable. Negative 2 is in front of the x, so that's one coefficient. 6 is in front of the x, that's a second coefficient. And then 9 does not have a variable, so it is not a coefficient. So negative 2 and 6. Like terms, again, have the same variable raised to the same power. The 8 and the 9 both have the same variable, which is nothing, the non-existent variable. And negative 2x and 6x have the same variable, and they're both to the first power, so that works. And then lastly, constant terms are the terms without variables, which I'm sure you've already picked up on, 8 and 9. Okay, go ahead and try this out on your own. The hardest part here is looking for those terms, separating out those terms. So in this problem, we have two subtraction signs. Make sure you do skip change so that you see those addition signs. Keep the negatives with the number it's in front of. For example, keep the negative in front of the 1 and keep the negative in front of the 4y. Go ahead and solve. Press play when you're ready to see the answers. Okay, welcome back. Let's take a look. Terms, hopefully you found, oh, let me put that on there, I apologize. Okay, there we go. Now it shows up a little better. So when we look at our terms, we've got 4x, negative 1, negative 4y, 8x, and y. Those are the different terms, all separated by an addition sign. Coefficients, 4, negative 4, and 8. And actually, you could also include a 1 in there as a coefficient because the y doesn't have a number in front of it, which would imply a 1 because there's just one y. So whenever you see a y, it means 1. Like terms, when you're looking for your like terms, it needs to have a buddy. So the 4x has 8x, and the negative 4y has y. Notice we also have a negative 1, but because there aren't any other terms that do not have a variable, it's all by its lonesome self, so it doesn't have any like terms. And constant is, of course, negative 1. It is the only number without a variable. It is the constant. Okay, teacher example 2, combining like terms and simplifying the expression. So I just want to combine everything that I can and then stop. I may not be able to go all the way and just have one term remaining. I'm going to combine as much as I can. So on problem A, they both have the same variable, a, raised to the same power, so I can simply add. 12 plus 3 is 15, and then, of course, bring your a down. So 12a plus 3a is 15a. And if it helps you, think about an object. If I have 12 hats, I add 3 more hats, I now have 15 hats. Okay, problem B, I can combine the 2 with the variable of b. I cannot combine that 10 with it. So if it helps, again, put it in parentheses, and notice I changed it to addition. I did skip, change, change. You can do that if it helps you, or you can leave it as a subtraction problem. Either way, though, you're going farther down the negative side, so you're going to end up with negative 10b plus 10. Remember, you always put the constant at the end. So all answers need to be in alphabetical order with the constant, the one without the variable, at the end. So it would be incorrect on the quiz if you did 10 minus 10b. Keep that in mind. Problem C, I notice I have the distributive property. I need to distribute that 5 to both numbers. I need to share it. So I go ahead and do that. 5 times d is 5d. 5 times 3 is 15. Now I can rearrange my numbers. Notice the negative sign or subtraction sign stays with the 2. Okay, so it moves with it. The 15 has an addition sign in front of it, so it stays with that. And we end up with 3d plus 15. Again, they must be in alphabetical order with the constant at the end. This would be marked incorrect on a quiz if you had 15 plus 3d. Problem D, again, you need to distribute. Notice I left it as minus negative. Normally I wouldn't leave it that way, but I did want you to see this so that you wouldn't get confused. You're distributing the whole negative 6. So negative 6 times 2b is negative 12b. Negative 6 times 4 is negative 24. Now with this minus negative, I know I'm going to skip, change, change and make that plus positive. And again, when you distribute, what I like to do is do negative 6 times negative 4. Instead of looking at this as a subtraction sign, I like to look at it as a negative sign. But again, they're the same thing. So either way that you set it up, you're going to end up adding 24. So rearrange them so that your variables are together. The 24 is at the end. And then you can secretly subtract negative 4b plus 24. Okay. Go ahead and try this out on your own. Be careful with problem 2. Notice there are different variables, so you need to make sure that they're in alphabetical order. The A's first, the B's second. Go ahead and get started. Okay, let's take a look at your answers. Hopefully you combine the A's and the B's. Notice the negative 4a keeps that negative or subtraction sign with it, and the b keeps a subtraction sign with it. I put a 1 in here just to make it easier for your subtraction. If it ever confuses you, you can always add the 1 when you're doing your work. You just want to make sure you simplify and get rid of anything extra at the end. You end up with 13a plus 2b. Notice they're in alphabetical order, so it is correct. Problem 3. It seems like we're a little off on our numbering. That's okay. Problem 3, we have 2z minus 18 minus 3z. Notice I distributed the negative 3. Again, if you wrote this as plus negative 3z, that would work as well. Either way you want to set it up, it does not matter. As long as you know that this negative sign stays with the 3. So it goes to the 6 and it goes to the z. Then I want to reorder them. And I end up with negative 1z minus 18. Keep in mind, when it says simplify the expression, that means get rid of anything extra. So if you had plus negative 18, you need to simplify that, getting rid of the extra addition sign and make it just minus 18. So when it says simplify, you want to use as few signs as possible. You also need to get rid of that 1 because it is unnecessary. So keep in mind, if you had negative 1z, that would be incorrect. You need to keep simplifying. And if you have plus negative 18, that would also be incorrect. You need to keep simplifying. Okay, let's take a look at problem 4. You need to distribute. And I rewrote it again with parentheses in case that helps you. And you have your final answer, 2z plus 25. Careful with those z's. Make sure you don't confuse them for 2's. Number 5, distribute, reorder, add and subtract. And notice here, again, I've got plus negative 30, so I need to skip change so I can get rid of these double signs. You should never, in your answer, have two signs next to each other. So it would simply be 5t minus positive 30, which of course we don't need to write the positive sign, so this is the completely simplified answer. Be very careful. Okay, 5.2 quiz. We do have 3 questions, a couple reminders. Problem 1, make sure they're in alphabetical order. R's go first, S's go second. Problem 2, make sure you distribute first, and watch out for those Z's. Don't confuse them for 2's. Problem 3, again, alphabetical order with a constant on the end. So if you end up with a constant in your answer, it needs to go last. Have a great day.